What's up?
All
What's up,
right.
everybody?
Love it. We are here. Some of us a little more in the dark than others.
Step and come to the dark side. The dark side. Hello, everybody.
Welcome. Welcome to the conversation, the South Carolina Normal Cannabis conversation. My name is Scott Weldon, Executive Director of South Carolina Normal. Vaughn will be your host tonight. I will be kind of ducking in and out a couple of times, possibly. Um, but I do want to kind of welcome everybody. And as I always like to do, I am going to start with our disclaimer. So we're already like a minute into it. So let's go ahead and hit this that all of our meetings are in a environment of education and awareness and are not an open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis. We do not condone or encourage illegal behavior of any kind. So welcome everybody to the cannabis conversation. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at SCNormal and follow Vaughn at Vaughn Postema. Last but not least on our little intro, I just want to say to please support our sponsors. Visit the scnormal.org sponsor page and click on the links and follow our sponsors. Talking about sponsors, I do want to mention that I should have it up in the next couple of days. A post. We do have another donation of a gift certificate, $100 gift certificate to our membership drive drawing. So it'll be the board game and a $100 gift certificate to a South Carolina business that we'll announce in just a couple of days. So that's kind of it for me. Vaughn, I'm going to pass it over to you, and I'm just going to kind of sit back a little bit.
Nice. Well, we appreciate it, Scott. And hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. That's great news too about the membership drive. But hello. We're gonna have as always, a great time tonight. Already got someone in the chat, so I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Kathy Marchbanks. Hi, is South Carolina going to be the last state to legalize? That is an ongoing question here, but if we got anything to do with it, we're going to push for it to not be the last to legalize. But I tell you what, that were to happen, this is also something for us to think about too, is that, there's still plenty of work to be done. Still plenty of work to be done before legalization, after legalization, and all those things. And so the hope for us is to be able to not be the last state. We're going to push as much as we possibly can. But shout out to Kathy. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you to everybody else who's watching. If you're from South Carolina, check in. If you're not, that's fine too. But let us know where you're watching from and join into the conversation. If this is your first time being here, this is truly what it is, Cannabis Conversations. We love popping up comments on the screen and talking about them as we go through our different headlines. So for today, we got a couple of cannabis headlines. We're going to talk about a pretty interesting headline that has come up that I was in conversation about this morning. It actually happened earlier in this month, but it's still a pretty robust conversation for us to have. And then we'll also talk about a bill that was pre-filed that we weren't able to touch on yet, but is also going to be another good one for us to talk about. And then we'll continue with our Know the Law series. Today, we're going to be talking about cultivation. And so we're just going to go through those laws so that we understand what penalties are. Kathy, back again. It's patient discrimination to patients in states where it's not legal. Oh, you're talking about with for us not being legalized, that it's patient discrimination? Yeah, that's a big one right now. When it comes to medical marijuana, we have the pre-filed, or what has been introduced for Compassionate Care Act again, and it is something. It's a product that people really want. It's a product that a lot of people need, and we need to be able to have opportunities for people to be able to engage with cannabis in that way. First and foremost, let's get into these headlines. Here's one for you. I think Scott will get a good chuckle out of this one. The Sinaloa cartel is losing its marijuana business, and El Chapo's sons are going after the premium weed market to make up for it. This article, December 13th. But I wanted to bring this up because we don't normally have like headlines like this, but this is a part of the industry, and this is a part of something that is a constant conversation. Now the cartel is a whole different, can of worms. Let's not get it twisted. The cartel is a whole different can of worms, but I think it's very interesting how you have this kind of let's say underground element, or this entity that has been dealing with marijuana for a very long time, uh and now they're like, hey, we can do it better. We can create, we can grow better. We've got a better product, and we aim to be the premium marijuana exporter. So this was pretty interesting right here. Some of the key notes. It says over the past decade, a growing number of US states have legalized marijuana. The domestic production and sales that enables has eroded Mexican cartels' share of the US market. Mexico is also headed toward legalizing marijuana, and the Sinaloa cartel sees an opportunity in it. So, El Chapo's sons, we know who El Chapo is. If you don't, he's this uh, for lack of better words, drug lord, known for marijuana amongst other illegal drugs and things of that nature. Well, now his sons are in the business of wanting to turn their business legit, especially in the marijuana portion of things. I think about this article a lot when I think about something that Scott brought up a while ago, where it was talking about how much money is being made in the black market, especially for South Carolina. But the black market is still there, and we have conversations about, will the black market ever go away for cannabis? Because these are real conversations for us to be having about everything that centers around legalization and all the kind of intricacies. We're not here on this podcast to solve all the problems or any of that, but we are here to throw some thoughts into the ring. So there's a stat on here that was pretty interesting. Here we go. In 2013, U.S. authorities seized roughly 1.3 million kilograms of weed at the border with Mexico, according to the DEA report. By 2019, however, pot seizures at the border have fallen to nearly 249,000 kilograms. That's a big drop. 1.3 million to 249,000. Okay. Like, so this is showing an impact, a direct impact that legalization in the United States has on uh, this kind of economy within the cartel, right? So they see profits drop drastically because of the fact of legalization, and also because of the fact that more domestic growing and things of that nature is happening within the United States. So what do they want to do? They want to get their cut of the cheese, because they're like, hey, for so long we've been demonized and criminalized for doing this, and now our one of our biggest markets is now not needing us because they're growing legally within their own country. I I find this interesting, Scott. I'm curious of your initial thoughts, if any, because this is interesting to me because there's this element here where here is a entity that has been known for having drugs go across the border and having marijuana go through the border, and they're over here like, wow, legalization is really messing up what we got going on. And I feel like that has been a conversation we've been having about legalization undercutting the black market.
Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, the whole story reminds me of, believe it or not, my board games. I have some of the early marijuana themed board games that are based around smuggling marijuana into the country. And if you look into the history of the Sinaloa cartel, they started as a marijuana smuggling organization more so than they grew into, a giant cocaine smuggling organization to pretty much all drugs. I'm assuming, um, but it's all the fact that the Controlled Substances Act created an opportunity for these cartels to grow, to form and to grow based on using marijuana
Yeah.
first. Finding out that marijuana was getting harder and harder to smuggle because it was large, and for the volume, you got a lot less money. Where you could take cocaine and for a small volume get a lot of money. So yeah, I blame the U.S. government for basically starting these cartels in the first place.
But look at, I mean, preach, preach, I preach. I there's there's truth there, right? And here is another form of a group, right? And hear me out here, another form of a group that has already been like doing this and then coming into an industry that America is trying to create a cannabis industry, but they're missing some key elements, and a lot of that I think is the culture of cannabis. Like there's a culture around cannabis, right? And that's another thing that's in this article. Matter of fact, let me drop this article in here for you all to read at your leisure. Let me go ahead and share that with the good people. Bim. Um did it? Okay, yeah. What's interesting in this article is that Los Chapitos is what they're called, the sons of El Chapo. There's three of them. They are going to people who have been growing cannabis in Mexico. Now, once again, Mexico, it's not, they're on a road to legalization, right? But they're actually going to people who have been doing this. Like there's one guy that's quoted in here who works for Los Chapitos and says, "Hey, I they came to me and said, hey, we want to grow cannabis. And I said, okay,
I lost your audio.
I've been censored by Big Brother.
Oh,
All right.
there you are.
There we go. You can hear me now. Perfect.
Big
But
brother.
I'm
Big
saying
brother is censoring you.
it's um but yeah, so something that was very important to Los Chapitos was that we're going to go into this element of people who have already done this. We've been doing this for years and years, and we're going to capitalize off of that. There's something interesting going on within the cannabis industry because there is, and this is, I'm also going to take this for a moment into a personal lens, right? Where there is a lot of distrust in terms of the corporate element of the cannabis industry. So there's distrust between certain segments because it feels like, as I have been told many a times, that there are chads within the within the um within the industry, and these chads make it very difficult to trust, what the industry is doing, and what that process looks like. So instead of, you've got someone who's started something, they're growing, they haven't really done this before, but they feel like they're superior to people who have been locked up for cannabis or for growing cannabis. And that's a part of the culture within America. And I think that's where we slip up, that there is not this embracing of folks who have been demonized before about, cultivation or being those growers and things of that nature. And so then you've got, things that just end up looking a little corporate. Like that cultural flavor is not there sometimes. And I think that Los Chapitos recognize that, and they are pointing that out. Like they're saying, "Hey, don't worry. Soon we're going to be the space where premium marijuana is coming out of. We are going to be that spot." And I find that to be pretty interesting. We got some comments here. Miggy is in the building. What's up, Miggy? Very cool profile picture. Supply and demand,
Hey,
cartel
Miggy,
supply,
welcome.
Americans desired. Hi, guys. Hello, hello, hi, and hello. Yep, supply and demand. That's a fact. Did you guys see the THC? No, I haven't seen it on Hulu yet. Talks about human trafficking in weed farms. I have not seen that yet, but it has caught my eye. It's on my watch list, so I'm going to check that out. Scott, do you have Hulu?
No, I don't have Hulu, and now all of a sudden I think I need to have it.
Oh
Just
yeah. Yeah, that's on the list. Miggy, let us know how you felt about it. That's something that's on the watch list for sure. human trafficking and weed farms. That just sounds intense. We're gonna have to have an episode purely on that. Matter
I
of
have
fact,
to
we need to
check
have
that
an
out.
episode
Absolutely.
on just cannabis documentaries. There's quite a few on Netflix and Hulu. So we gotta deep dive into those one day. Um, yeah, this right here is a pretty interesting read. They also are investing. Los Chapitos are also investing in politicians to legalize weed, right? So this is a operative within. This is a quote from them. The juniors, that's what they are also called. The juniors are not only investing in producing and branding weed, they are also investing in lobbying with Mexico's top politicians to legalize weed. The operative and others in the business say the cartel is, quote unquote, very interested in legalizing weed. Of course, some believe it is because of Los Chapitos' love for the plant and its supposed benefits. Others think it's purely a business decision. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got to be both, right? I mean, that's
Got to be both, you know.
it's got to be
And
both. It's got to be both.
what businesses in this country are running because they want to lose money or because they don't care at all about? I mean, yeah, you see people that say, especially I love to watch that Shark Tank show. Oh, I'm not really in it for the money. Well, guess what, folks? The sharks are, and you better be in it for the money. Even running a nonprofit here with South Carolina Normal, there's a money component involved. We can't do anything without support, without some money, without being able to do little things like have our lobby day and press conference.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
money's always a factor,
Money is always a factor.
and yep, yep. So um,
We've got another. Oh, what's up, Joey?
Miggy,
Joey in the building. What's up, Joey?
Joey's in the house.
Joey,
I
Joey.
like
Hello.
I like Miggy's next one. This one. What's worse?
Cartels investing or Russian oligarchs? I mean, it's just. This is a good question. This is a good question. This is a good question.
And this is why I want to see the small craft farmer. I want to be able to buy from the guy down the road who has, is a craft farmer who's growing locally, who knows what he's doing, and not buying corporate weed.
Yeah, I mean, what they say in this article too, where there's already matter of fact, where's the line? So I read it directly. Here we go. I'm gonna read this and make my point here. Although the criminal organization formerly led by El Chapo has made up for the loss of revenue by entering other illegal and pseudo-legal businesses like illegal logging, extortion, and monopolizing water in several regions of Mexico, they still want the weed business back. So, you know, once again, even though they are in an element where they want to get back into this, they want to get into this legal side of things, it's still corporate to me. Like it's still corporate to me, and it's not. I'm not here to say down with corporate, but it's just. I like diversity within my economy. I like diversity within that, and I think that right now the industry doesn't play well to like small business owners. I personally am a small business owner within this industry, so also kind of speaking to personal experience here, but I do still want there to be that lane for that mom and pop, if you will, that small business, the craft farmers like you're talking about. Like I don't think I'm really interested in monopolizing, right? And so here is an organization, like let's look at them as an organization, right? They still have this history of we've got these elements that they've got right here, like just monopolizing water, which, it's a conversation for a different for a different day, but these are intense business moves, right? So even though I do see to me, it doesn't feel like it's a surprise that we would be having this conversation right now, or this article would come up. Of course, of course, I could see Los Chapitos wanting to be in this business, right? Like that makes sense to me, right? That they'd be interested in that. But, you know, case in point, we still need to look out for the for the farmers. I feel like there's still opportunities for state economies to really benefit, local economies to really benefit, And I don't think that's happening right now for a lot of places in terms of like thinking about that national reach of some of these cannabis companies. So that's why I wanted to talk about with this
Oh,
article.
absolutely.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say I agree with you on that. Um, we want to see it a lot more normalized throughout, but especially here in South Carolina where we're not even legal
Yeah.
yet. Um, One of the main things I would think about or would want to think about as we move toward legalization here is how it's going to benefit the people within South Carolina as far as being able to grow, being able to distribute South
Yeah.
Carolina grown cannabis and
Yeah.
not imported from not only another state, but here I'm assuming El Chapo, would be uh, growing in Mexico and importing.
Right, right.
You know,
Absolutely,
so
absolutely. And that's something to consider, you know, that it's something to consider. And I think sometimes when I look at, you know, this particular field, the cannabis field, it is just it's still so malleable, right? Like there's still ways for us to piece this thing together in a way that's going to be beneficial. But it's going to take a lot of education, I feel like, and that's how I feel even in the local level. Like there has to be buy-in from locals, right, to even understand that this is something to uh, to be thinking about or to have some foresight about. You know, you already got to educate people about cannabis, right? There's so many different like education levels to this thing. And the more that people don't know about something, the more that they're, you know, kind of willing to let kind of whatever happened, you know, because it's like, oh, I didn't realize this thing was happening. And it's like, yes, these are decisions that can affect us on a local level. Even though we're not legal in South Carolina, it is still absolutely worth it to know this information because I say this every time we have an opportunity to to build a to build a plan for ourselves based off of blueprints from other states. And when we keep our eye on what's happening right across our borders, like that's also important too. Like it's going to eventually affect us in some kind of shape, form, and or fashion. So, good read here. Make sure you check it out when you can. So that's, you know, all hope is not lost just because of the fact that we're not legal. You know, just like in the beginning of this conversation, we had a question: is South Carolina going to be the last to legalize? You know, I'm honestly less worried about that. You know, I'm more concerned about, are we going to, if we're the last to legalize, is it going to, are we going to have the most knowledge on it? Because honestly, that's how that should go. You know, we should
I
be the
had to
most
highlight.
well versed.
I had to highlight Miggy's comment. You preach there, VP. I appreciate you. Uh, I am going to duck out. It's actually time for me to go officially get ready for work. So you guys have a great conversation, and I will catch up with you all next week.
All right, peace out, Scott. Thanks so much.
But
Stay safe out there.
you're welcome. Bye bye now. I can figure out how to get back out of here.
Oh, Scott. Well, Scott, you can hang on to. Oh no, he's gone. There we go. Well, now, then there was one. You stuck with me, folks. All right. So shout out to Scott doing his thing and appreciate all that you do, especially for the SC normal chapter. So yeah, this is glad that he was on to talk about El Chapo. Like that is, or Los Chapitos, excuse me. This is something to keep our eye on, folks. So the next thing I also wanted to bring in before we go into kind of going over the cultivation laws for South Carolina, something that is worth it to know. Senator Mia McLeod has pre-filed Senate Bill 211. Did this on November 30th. We haven't brought this one up to you yet, so I want to make sure that we get this on the docket. Make sure that you are thinking about this. Matter of fact, I'm going to drop the bill. This is the bill itself. So Senator McLeod, she files this every year, y'all, every year, and it is about summary right here: Marijuana Control Act. This is about recreational usage in South Carolina. All right. So something that I think is overlooked a lot of times when we're talking about South Carolina is that it's not like there is nothing that's ever like pre-filed or anything that's out there when it comes to legalization, right? It's just that half the time we don't know it. We don't know that it's happening. And this is something, this is the reason why we're having these kinds of conversations and having this kind of moment every week, is so that we can be aware and show people that things are happening. This is why it's worth it to talk to your legislators. Say, hey, how come you're not supporting this bill that got introduced? How come you're not, what's your thought about this? Now, Senator McLeod is a Democrat. So, as we see a lot of times within South Carolina politics, if Democrats introduce something, it tends to not get any traction. But there's things that are out here. So I want you to know it's happening, it's out there. But the support oftentimes is not there. So let me go through. This blog does a good job of summarizing. It says Senator McLeod pre-filed Senate Bill 211 on November 30th. The bill would create a program to license and regulate the possession, cultivation, and distribution of marijuana for personal use. Under the proposed law, adults 21 and over could legally possess, use, purchase, process, or manufacture 1 ounce or less of marijuana. Excuse me, hold on. Adults could also cultivate up to 6 marijuana plants. This is real, y'all. This is real. This is something that has been pre-filed in South Carolina. All right. So there are there are legislators here that are with it. Okay, for lack of better words. It's right here. Senate Bill 211. Okay. S211 would also create a licensing and regulatory structure for the commercial production and sale of marijuana. So let me drop this in there for you. Hold on. I had the bill in there, but I'm also going to put this blog in here for you guys to check out. All right, perfect. So this is worth putting on your docket to read, to support. If you read through it, see what you like, what you don't like. Once again, call up your legislators, ask them why they're not supporting this, or if they will be supporting this. Once again, this has been pre-filed, so these are things for us to look forward to in the new year, when when our state house is back in session. This is something to mention. This is something to talk about. One thing I do want to mention here that it doesn't have in this summary is that up to, I think you can't have more than 5 grams of concentrates. Let's see here. Let's do a little quick word search. Yeah, even concentrates are in here, y'all. Come on. Like that's that's we don't have anything that talks about that. They've got a 21-year um minimum on that, which I like that. I personally think that makes sense to me. Possession of more than 1 gram of cocaine, 100 milligrams of alpha or beta, Eucaine, 4 grams of opium, 4 grams of morphine, 2 grams of heroin, 100 milligrams. Okay, they're amending this right here to take out. This is what currently is in our SC code, and they want to take out the marijuana portions of this. So, if you want something um, to look after, Marijuana Control Act is definitely one of those things. Uh, all the things that we would like for the medical marijuana bill, the Compassionate Care Act, to at least mention or talk about, especially when we talk about, it doesn't even have smokable flower in there, like no smokables in Compassionate Care Act. Like these are here you go. Here's your recreational right here. This also speaks to what we were talking about having something for the people, for the everyday citizen. There are pre-filed bills for decriminalization for veterans. There are things that we have on there. What we got? Decrim for veterans, the Compassionate Care Act, and then Patients First. And it's great to be able to focus on these groups. I'm glad that these groups are getting this recognition. They need that. I also like that we have something that's for the everyday citizen that may not fall into those buckets. We need something that's for everybody. And I think that we can achieve that in South Carolina. In fact, I know we can achieve that in South Carolina. I think there is absolutely a way for us to take care of these groups and the community at large, right? Making things accessible to people. Where do you draw the line when someone is a patient and not? When do you stop? When does marijuana stop being medicinal? When does it start and stop being medicinal? The plant is always medicinal. Whether you're carrying a card or not, it's still going to have medicinal effects. Of course, there's some elements or some people who may need a bigger dosage, things of that nature, and we can account for that. But realistically speaking, the plant is always going to be medicinal. It's always going to be, the endocannabinoid system within us is going to be attracted to those cannabinoids. That doesn't stop, right? So we need laws that are going to be for the greater community as well. So, boom, Senator McLeod. And if you remember, Senator Mia McLeod also was vying for the Democratic gubernatorial race as well. So that's something you are maybe familiar with her name because she was also going for that. Joe Cunningham ended up winning that, and that's who went for that governor race. But Mia McLeod, check out the debate, see what she had to say about it. All right. All right, 732. What else we got? Good point on proving there's an effort out there. I guess y'all aren't in 1940. Yeah, I guess we're not. Yeah, I have to remind myself of this too, Miggy. Like I have to look through these and remind myself that it's not always that we're just stuck in the dark ages, right? Like South Carolina, I live here. The people who are working within SC Normal, we live here. And there's things about South Carolina, believe it or not, that I like, right? I like where I live, and I like being a part of change. And I want citizens, people who are watching this program, to know that you also can be a part of change. And change don't always happen overnight. It very rarely does. But a little bit happens every night. A little bit happens every night. And when you look back, you say, "Man, we've come a long way." Just being more aware is going to help us, because now you can influence your spheres of influence and tell people and correct them and say, "No, actually there is something out there. We need to be watching these bills right here, and when they get overlooked, we need to make some noise about it. We need to be calling somebody. We need to be, you know, um, volunteering or showing up to lobby day. We've got a lobby day January 25th. Come through, talk to your legislator and say, "Hey, I just want to know how you're feeling about this right here that's on the floor." And all use is medical use. Exactly. So I always chuckle at like using the term medical when I'm like, well, when does that when do you start when do you stop, when does it stop being medical? Like, yeah, no. All use is medical use for sure. Okay, so let's get into the Know the Law series. This week we're talking about cultivation. So last week, of course, we talked about sale or trafficking. We've talked about possession, and the Know the Law series. Just in case this is your first time tapping into this one, Know the Law series. Matter of fact, I'm gonna change this little guy right here. Know the Law series is just exactly what it states. I want us to go through what our penalties are in the state of South Carolina so that we are aware. Something that we've been talking about within SC Normal is what are the things that we would like to see different. Of course, there's an overarching thing that we would love, right? We want that legalization, but more than legalization, we want to ask ourselves, what does legalization look like? What I mean, there has to be some parameters, right? We've got to be thinking about harm reduction. We've got to be thinking about all of the elements that go into legalizing, right? And looking at these laws and looking at the penalty details within the state of South Carolina, there's a lot to there's a lot that can, at least in the meantime, in between time of legalization, there's a lot that can be pared down here, right? I talk about this a lot where I'm like, even if this $2,000 could be shifted to $200, like that'd be great. Turn this 200 to no fine, this 2,000 to 200. We'd like for there to be no fines, no fines, no time, but give us something out here. All right, cultivation. So I'm just going to read through these and then riff about them just a little bit. Cultivation of fewer than 100 plants is a felony. My God, every time I read felony, I'm just like, dang. Cultivation of fewer than 100 plants is a felony punishable by a maximum sentence of 5 years imprisonment and a maximum fine of $5,000. Cultivation of 100 to 1,000 plants is a felony punishable by mandatory minimum sentence of 25 years imprisonment and a maximum fine of 25,000. Now, before I go any further, something that really gets me about this is that, once again, cultivation of fewer than 100 plants. And I like to take it as simple as one, right? Because one plant just really makes me think about an everyday citizen, right? Somebody who's just taking care of one plant. There's already nuances to taking care of many plants, but just the one, just think about it. If you just have the one, felony, maximum sentence of 5 years, maximum fine of $5,000. Now, it doesn't have a minimum sentence on here, but let's be honest here. Like that's already, we talked about this before. It's not that it's always so simple as, oh, okay, well, you're just, we're just going to leave it be. No, there's a lot of other factors that come into play when you get caught with something like this. There's a lot of repercussions that can come from being caught cultivating. People, the system can really make your life difficult because of cultivating one plant. And you have to think to yourself, like, what are we putting in place? Like, even when we talk about reforming these laws, like, can't there be something, like, when you think about what a citizen may be growing, right? Like, even in this proposed bill from Senator McLeod, they talk about, what is it, cultivating six plants. um Hold on, is this the, yeah, cultivation, I think it's like six plants that they have on here. Make sure I'm right here. Six plants. Yeah, here we go. So, a person 21 years of age or older may legally, within the person's primary residence, possess up to 10 ounces of marijuana and any marijuana produced by marijuana plants cultivated at his primary residence, and possess, cultivate, or process not more than six marijuana plants for personal use. Six, right? And right now, if you got those six, uh, this is what you're looking at: felony punishable by maximum sentence of 5 years, $5,000. So this is why I like seeing this coming out of, seeing this bill being pre-filed, because to me this makes sense. Six marijuana plants for personal use. I think in what is it in DC? Hold on, let's see here. I want to pull up there because I remember DC being the we used to talk about that all the times in terms of cultivation. Hold on, here we go. Yeah. Adults 21 and older may cultivate up to six marijuana plants, no more than three mature at any one time, in their primary residence without penalty. So, not-for-profit transactions involving small amounts of the substance are also permitted. So this is looking like a standard, right? Like DC is right up the street, what, like a little 8 hours or whatever it may be. Six plants. I think that's reasonable. That's a reasonable place to start, and it also increases that accessibility for people, right? So people who may want to kind of DIY, this thing, like this is something they're utilizing for personal use, that is completely obtainable, right? Right now, we've got in the hemp program here in South Carolina, there are people who have licenses to grow hemp, and they ain't all on the farm. Okay, that not they don't all have just big plots of land. There's people doing indoor grows. There's people who are doing very small grows. Like that's already happening. So it's not so far fetched that this is something that could happen recreationally for everyday citizens throughout this particular, that particular shift. So looking at what we have right now, it's a little intense that without having having that potential for that felony charge, like that's intense. That is very intense. So let me finish out the rest of these right here, and then we'll kind of go to see what they have within the criminal code. But cultivation of 1,000 to 10,000 plants is a felony punishable by a mandatory minimum sentence of 25 years imprisonment and a maximum fine of 50,000. Cultivation of more than 10,000 plants is a felony punishable by mandatory minimum sentence of 25 years imprisonment and a maximum fine of $200,000. These minimum sentences definitely have to go. Um, that's so intense. So once again, talking about that, reforming of the laws as the world is changing around us, right? If we don't have a full out legalization, it would be beneficial for us to reform, like just take out these minimum sentences. The minimum sentences already, what hope is there by the time you get into this cultivation, right? Like what I mean, there's no minimum for fewer than 100 plants, but when you get into this greater piece right here, and I think another reason why this cultivation right here is scary is because right now, as we're continuing with our hemp programs in South Carolina, it can be so it's so I guess difficult, right, for someone who is maybe someone has a contract or something of that nature. They're in the program and they're cultivating more than 100 plants. We already don't have that cushion enough for people to not like pop hot on whether or not they're within that legal limit. So you run a risk being a part of like that program, and say all of a sudden you're not within that range for THC. Well, now you've got this, you're falling into this bad boy right here. That's scary. That's scary. That's not fair. I think that when we have things that like when we have hemp programs, we have elements where you so easily could say, oh, this is illegal, like this is marijuana that you're growing. Yeah, I don't think that's fair for people who are essentially taking the risk to grow within the programs. Now, if the programs have some special leniency or something of that nature, then that's a different story. That's a different story for a different day. But yes, those are our cultivation laws right there. Wanted to make sure that we touched on those. We've got hash and concentrates going into the new year. Actually, I think, yeah, we've got that going into the new year. And then paraphernalia will also be within that, just kind of scooping that up. And then we will have successfully gone through our penalties, South Carolina laws and penalties, and checking that out. I'm also curious for the sake of being here. I always like to see what's happening in like North Carolina because they're right across. They've got some kind of decriminalization, but I'm curious about them when it comes to cultivation. Hold on one second. Let's see here. Cultivation of less than 10 pounds of marijuana is a class one felony punishable by 3 to 8 months imprisonment and a discretionary fine for a first offense. Cultivation of 10 pounds or more, but less than 50 pounds is a class H felony punishable by a minimum of 25 months and a maximum of 30 months imprisonment and a fine of at least $5,000. What's crazy about this is that I mean, they're talking about months, which, obviously 25 months is, a couple of years, but, South Carolina is like, no, you're going to be in there for 25 years, bro. Jeez Louise. Wow. What a stark difference. What a stark difference. This is why we're having these conversations right here. This is exactly why. Um, okay, got some comments in the chat. I'm actually going to bring this up. Hey, Miggy, I'm a big fan. It's great seeing you in chat. You and Tom are great. Yeah, once again, shout out to Miggy and Tom. If you have not checked out their show, you've got to do it. Matter of fact, I'll probably drop that in the chat. Very informative show. I know my husband watches it all the time, so that's how I found out about the show. Okay, so anyway, no fangirling tonight. No fangirling tonight. Uh, all right, 7:45. We got a little 15 more minutes here, so I wanted to talk about our lobby day and some of the things that we've got going on for that. Lobby day is January 25th. Um, January 25th, we're going to be out there, South Carolina State House. If you haven't already, please make sure that you sign up, email us, go to our website. We want you to be able to talk to your legislators. I remember earlier this year when we had, man, I can't believe I keep wanting to say last year, but no, not yet. We still got a few more days until the new year. Mind blown. Can y'all believe it? It's already 2023 knocking down our door. But earlier this year, we had our first lobby day. It was great, really great time. We're excited about doing it again in January. January 25th will be in Columbia, South Carolina, my old stomping grounds, right? So I'll be out there. Scott, the rest of our team, Kristen, Jessica, we're going to have a great time out there. Looking forward to seeing a lot of you. I think that, we this go around, we want to make sure that we talk about reforming those laws. And we're also making sure that, we're not going to be in like kind of that election time. So we are really looking forward to getting a lot of, how can I say, perspectives from both sides of the aisle and all of that. Uh, because this is not like a Democrat thing, Republican thing, or independent thing, or whatever the heck thing. This is a human thing, right? Legalizing is a human thing. And we need to be thinking about it like that. Uh, we talk about the bills and how they're introduced, and how, Senator McLeod, she brings something every single year. There's been bills coming out of the House that also talked about decriminalization. These things are happening. There's people who are willing to put something on the docket, but they're largely so one-sided, right? So like I remember reading about the decrim bill that was proposed. It's all Democrat supported, no Republicans at all. And yet Compassionate Care Act is introduced by Republicans. So there's conversations happening, but we've got to have a little bit more unity. And I know that sounds played out, but it's just the truth. We can't have this looking like only one side of the aisle cares about this more than the others. There's obviously some kind of middle ground there, or everyone's got their different wants and needs. But for the lobby day, we want to make sure that we have representation from both side of the aisles, making sure that we have representation from us. The SC NORML crew will be out there speaking as well, in the list, in the lineup. So I'm excited about it. I like the lobby day. I learn a lot about, one, of course, continue to learn more about the workings of our state government, but it's also really empowering to see other people who support cannabis, talking to legislators that do support cannabis. That's another one of my favorite pieces, is talking to legislators who do care about this element. Like, they see that it is crucial. You heard this a couple of weeks ago. Was it last week or week before? Like, no, week before last. I don't remember. One of these weeks, Cody was on. He was talking about how he took some of the freshman legislators up, looking at, cannabis, the process of, getting cannabis processed, all of these things, and how, interested they were in this, right? They are interested in these are our lawmakers. So this is something for us to consider when we're thinking, oh well, we'll be the last to legalize, or this and the third. We can't be concerned about that. We got to do the work right now and make sure that we have our feet planted firmly into the ground to say, hey, we know how you feel about this. We know how this legislator feels. We know how this person feels. We know how that person feels. Let's stop making this a this or that thing, your side, this side. It is about the citizens of South Carolina. How do they benefit within this ever changing industry? How do we keep things safe for people? How do we keep things safe? Last week, we had somebody talking about this, a business owner, and just talking about the lack of education, or even within law enforcement, not feeling like they're on the same page. These are things that are affecting people. It affects the business owner, it affects the consumer, it affects the farmer, the processor, the broker. It affects us all. Got some comments in here. All right, perfect. Oh yeah, that's yes, 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 yes. Miggy, lobby days is a great concept. Appreciate it. Republicans turned into a weird cult. I'm telling you, it's very strange. It's very strange. It's very strange. Weird how this issue is all American, but we stay divided. Exactly. And I think another element too is that it's not like what's weird about it in South Carolina is that then there's this perception that there's people who are Republicans who don't use cannabis. That's not true. Yeah, it's not. That's not true. Everybody, cannabis is such a thing that so many people use. So many people use. So it's very obvious to me that we need to be working towards something that's going to benefit all of these people who utilize cannabis, even people who don't utilize cannabis. It still affects them. Yeah, I was talking to someone a couple of days ago, and they were talking about being supportive of cannabis, but they don't use cannabis. And I'm like, yeah, heck yeah, I get that. I'm not the most intense. I like low THC. Like I love hemp flower, love it, absolutely love it. I rock with CBD. I rock with full spectrum elements. Like that's the type of person I am, and I don't utilize every single day. Yeah, I don't utilize every single day. That's not what this is about. This is about making sure that we are doing what we need to do for for those humans out there that live in South Carolina that can benefit from this in more ways than one. And thinking about, helping to right our wrongs from the past, like groups that we've just constantly discriminated against, people who have constantly been on the back end, getting the brunt of all of this when it comes to going to jail, having things taken from them, having their children taken from them, having jobs taken from them, having opportunities taken from them. I mean, let's be real here. We have an opportunity to do something for people who have been wrong. We have the opportunity to do something for people who need this, who need access to this. We said this earlier. Cannabis is always medicinal. It doesn't stop being medicinal. It just doesn't. Like it does not. It does not stop having medicinal qualities about it. These wellness opportunities, if you will. It doesn't stop having these wellness opportunities. How beneficial could that be to so many people? I remember a guy who used to, you guys, I'm going like walking down memory lane, but all of it's coming back to me. I remember there used to be a shop on King Street down here in Charleston, and this guy that I knew from back in the day when I used to throw parties, another life. But there was this cat that used to work at one of the establishments that I would throw events at, and he was like Ubering now or whatever. And he walked into this shop. I was there at the same time, and he was getting a cartridge. He's getting a cart, and he said, "I have had chronic back pain forever and a day, and I've had a lot of different medications." He said, "And this is the only thing that helps me get up or sit down or whatever it may be to function, just to function, to function." So here is a citizen, right, who has found something that's going to assist him. He finds it, can afford it, and continues to buy it. We had to be thinking about this, and this is someone. This wasn't a medical card. This person is getting a cart, a CBD cart at the time. This guy's getting a full spectrum cart. What I mean, it's helping him, hemp derived, but it's helping him. That's what I think about when I'm thinking about how can we reform these laws so that everyone can have that opportunity. Should they choose to want to go this route, they should have the opportunity to do so, and to do so in a safe way. We should be able to have within this element, like as we are pushing for these bills, like also thinking about the harm reduction. Let's be responsible as we're continuing to advocate for reforming marijuana laws. Let's be responsible in that kind of way. Let's make sure that people are able to do things in a safe way. Harm reduction, I'm all about it. Woot woot, harm reduction. You're going to hear me talk about the regulation, the make sure the products are legit, all of that kind of stuff. Let me not get on my on my soapbox, but I appreciate y'all hearing me on this, and I hope that you feel me on this. This is the reason why we get up here every Wednesday to talk about these kinds of things, because they're valuable. We need this kind of stuff. So make sure that you're following us. Let me go ahead and pop this on over so that you can see this beautiful mug. Appreciate y'all so much for listening. We got 5 more minutes on here, so I'm going to make sure that I put a little banner up. Hold on, hold on. Once again, make sure that you're following us at SC Normal. Also, make sure that if you haven't already, like, sign up for the newsletter. If you become a member, you automatically are in the newsletter. But we have some really great stuff. Kristen and Scott, I think, do a great job with our newsletter. Scott always does like this director's corner. They always knock it out the park. So please make sure that you check that out. Once again, support our sponsors. Visit scnormal.org. Go check out our sponsors. If you want to be a sponsor, make sure that you hit us up. NormalSouthCarolina@gmail.com. We are here for you, and we would love your donations as well to help keep the train going, because 2023 is jam packed. We had a really great planning meeting earlier this month. We got some real cool stuff for y'all. I know I'm hype about it. I'm especially excited that we had something that I was thinking of doing in January, but I might do it later on in Q1. But we've got some really exciting things coming up your way, and we just really appreciate everybody's support on that. Um, I think another thing I want to make sure that you know. Hold on, I'm gonna show you guys scnormal.org, because we've got, here we go. Become a member. BIM. There you go. 2023 basic membership. I'm over here as though my screen is being shared, and that's not the case. Hold on. Booyah. 2023 basic membership in South Carolina NORML t-shirt. Make sure y'all take advantage of this. $50.40. That's it. That's all you got to do. Then you got the whole year. You got the whole year membership. We also have the basic membership. That one doesn't come with the cool t-shirt. All right. But you'll still be a member. We want to check you out with that membership. There's plenty of opportunities for volunteering. We've got a lot of things coming up, like I said, in the new year. I also wanted to say, because we had a lot of cannabis shop owners here last time, I personally am looking to do a South Carolina cannabis tour. Yes, a South Carolina cannabis tour. So if you have a shop in which you sell some form of cannabis, you got CBD, you got your Delta 8 products, you got whatever it is. If it's cannabis, I would love to come and meet you, talk to you, see exactly what you got going on, hear what you have to say. Yes, like I said, I'm a business owner as well within this industry, so I would love to chop it up with other business owners. But I really want to hopefully have a chance to talk to some consumers as well, and to further educate people about what's going on in the great state of South Carolina, the Palmetto State. And with that, we're at 7:59, about to round out. So I'm gonna make sure I keep it on time. Because even though Scott's not here, I know that Scott would want for me to stay on time and not exceed past 8 o'clock. So once again, thanks everybody that's in the comment section. Appreciate you for watching. All the viewers out there, make sure that you share this video, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, okay? Because I want to see you out here every single time. We enjoy talking to you guys. Clearly, I can talk for both me and Scott out here. We can hold it down, whether it's Scott, whether it's me, or anybody else from the team that jumps in. But thank you all so much. You guys are the best. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, even though Scott has run a lot of shows by himself, especially before I jumped on board, where it was just him like talking. That's dedication for your behind right there. Okay. That's dedication. Shout out to Scott. And with that, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Cannabis Conversations, baby. This is VP. I'm out. Peace.